We're recording already. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. I welcome you all to another presentation session of Medicine 1. And today the students will be presenting regarding varicose vein and mainly clinical features of rheumatoid arthritis and the basic pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis. So starting with the first presentation, I will request Mavish and Lubna to kindly start the presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mavish and my group member is Lubna Samrain. My topic of presentation is varicose veins. Varicose veins. Varicose veins are superficial veins that have become enlarged and twisted. Typically, they occur just under the skin in the legs. Next, just show in the diagram normal veins and varicose veins. Next, a brief anatomy of venous system. Venous system, all veins in the body are either part of superficial venous system or deep venous system. Superficial venous system have two types of venous veins, large venous veins and small venous veins in lower extremity. Small venous veins runs from ankle to knee and greater venous veins which runs ankle to groin. All venous blood is eventually received by the venous system on the way back to the right atrium of the heart. The principal deep venous trunk of the leg called popliteal. Popliteal vein forms below the knee until it passes upward in the distal thigh, where it is called the femoral vein. This is the largest and longest deep vein of the lower extremity. Like this shown in the diagram, normally blood moves through the veins toward the heart by one-way valves, which prevent from flowing backward. In a varicose vein, the valves don't close properly, allowing the blood to pool and enlarge the veins, which can lead to painful skin ulcers. Next, sign and symptoms. Sign and symptoms are aching, heavy legs, appearance of spider veins in affected legs, ankle swelling, redness, dryness, itchiness, cramp, irregular scars like patches, restless leg syndrome. Next, spider veins. Spider veins are small, tiny blood vessels, just showing the diagram. Next, causes. Varicose veins are more common in women than in men and are linked with heredity. Other related factors are aging, obesity, pregnancy, menopause, prolonged standing, leg injury, family history, lack of physical activity. Next, risk factors. Risk factors are heredity, gender, obesity, desk job, history of blood clots, damaged veins, pregnancy, birth control pill, and aging. Next, complication, pain, tenderness, heaviness, inability to walk or stand for long hours, skin ulcers, especially near the ankle, venous ulcer, where bleeding from minor trauma, blood clotting within affected veins, termed superficially thrombophlebitis, periosteitis, hemorrhage. Next, clinical features. Clinical features are dragging pain, postural discomfort, heaviness in the leg, nighttime cramps, edema, itching, discoloration, ulceration. Next, clinical test. Clinical test is we we will perform Trendelenburg test to determine the site of venous reflux and the title and the nature of the spinofemoral junction. It is used to determine the site of valvular incompetence in the patient with varicose venous reflex. What is venous reflex? Venous reflex is when venous walls don't function adequately, leading to reversal of blood flow through a wall during standing or standing. And what is spinofemoral junction? Spinofemoral junction is the spinofemoral junction is located at the spinous opening within the groin and formed by the meeting of the great venous vein, common femoral vein, and the superficial inguinal vein. Next, the procedure. How will perform Trendelenburg test? Ask the patient to lie down, elevate the legs, and empty the veins by massaging distal to proximal. Using our tourniquet, occlude the superficial vein in the upper thigh. A tourniquet is a device which applies pressure to a limb or extremity in order to limb, but in order to limit, but not stop the flow of blood. Next, the diagram shows the Trendelenburg test. Further investigation, Lubna will continue. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Welcome.
My name is Lubna, and I am going to continue from the investigations of varicose veins. In investigations, ultrasonography of chronic insufficiency of the legs and varicose veins were investigated using imaging techniques only if there was a suspicion of deep venous insufficiency. Next, ma'am. As in this picture, it is clearly shown that ultrasonography is being used for the investigation purpose of varicose veins. Next. This is an ultrasonographic image in which, with the help of these two lines, which are showing like an arrow, the large, dilated and twisted veins are easily can be easily seen. Next, ma'am. Stages of varicose veins. Now, the stages of varicose veins are the first one, that is C0, with no visible or palpable signs of venous disease. C1, that is telangiectasia or reticular veins. Telangiectasia is a condition in which widened venules cause thread-like red lines or patterns on the skin, and these patterns are called telangiectasias, and they are also known as spider veins. And the second one is varicose vein, and third one is edema. Fourth one is pigmentation, and lipodermatosclerosis, atrophy, blanch, healed venous ulcer, and active venous ulcer. Ma'am, next, please. These are just pictures of different stages of varicose veins, in which the varicose veins can be clearly seen in stage 1, in 2, 3, and fourth one, that is varicose eczema. Varicose eczema is basically a kind of skin disorder that occur in people who have varicose veins, and it happens because of poor circulation, normally in lower legs, and sores may develop. Next, ma'am. The treatment of varicose veins is most importantly self-care. In self-care, the treatment is exercising regularly, losing weight if you are obese, not wearing tight clothes, elevating your legs, and avoiding long periods of standing or sitting ease the pain, prevent varicose veins from getting worse. Next, ma'am. The next one is compression stockings that can be used for the treatment of varicose veins. Wearing compression stockings all day is often the first approach to try before moving on to the other treatments. They steadily squeeze your legs, helping veins and leg muscles move blood more efficiently. Next, ma'am. Other additional treatments for severe varicose veins are sclerotherapy. In sclerotherapy, inject medicine into blood vessels or lymph vessels that cause them to shrink. It is commonly used to treat varicose veins or spider veins. The procedure is non-surgical and only injection is required in this procedure. Next, ma'am. In this picture, the procedure of sclerotherapy is clearly can be seen. in which ultrasound is used to precisely locate the affected vein, and then the injection is injected into the affected vein to cause the vein to reduce the inflammation of the veins. Next, ma'am. The other one is laser treatment. In laser treatments, to close off smaller varicose veins and spider veins, laser treatment works by sending strong bursts of light into the vein, which makes the vein slowly fade and disappear. No incisions or needles are used. Next, ma'am. This picture is of endovenous laser treatment, in which a laser fiber is passed up the catheter, so it tip lies at the highest point to be heated. A large quantity of local anesthetic solution is injected around the vein through multiple teeny needle pricks, and a strong laser burst is inserted into the vein that is heated at its highest level. And in this picture, you can see the before and after picture of varicose veins. After the laser therapy, the veins are completely faded and disappeared. Varicose veins are completely faded and disappeared. Next, ma'am. Endoscopic vein surgery is a surgical device. At the end of the camera is used to close the vein. Endoscopic vein.
Just give me a minute.
मैम कंटिन्यू करूं? Subfacial endoscopic perforator surgery. मैम बहुत शोर आ रहा है माइक में. मैम
बेटे मैंने तो अपना माइक बंद किया था. मैविश काइंडली आप अपना माइक बंद कर दीजिए. जो प्रेजेंट कर रहा है सिर्फ वो अपना माइक ऑन रखे. जी ओके, अब मैं भी अपना माइक बंद कर रही हूँ. यू मे कंटिन्यू योर प्रेजेंटेशन.
यस मैम, थैंक यू. Endoscopic vein surgery is a surgical device that is used at the end of the camera to close the veins, varicose veins basically. Endoscopic vein surgery is usually only used in severe cases when varicose veins are causing skin ulcers. After the procedure, usually return to normal activities within a few weeks. Next, ma'am. This is subfacial endoscopic perforator surgery. People who suffer with leg ulcers due to incompetent venous perforators, this method is done for the endoscopic perforator surgery to reduce the enlargement and the inflammation of the varicose veins. Next, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and it was really a very nice and very comprehensive presentation. आप दोनों ने बहुत मेहनत की, मैविश और लुबना, and I guess के काफी क्लोज टू परफेक्ट थी. मजीद अगर इसमें हम चाहें तो ये है कि कुछ टर्म्स ऐसी थी कि अगर आप उनको भी एक्सप्लेन कर देते तो और बेहतर हो जाता. बट स्टिल इट वाज वेरी नाइस, एंड आई विल गिव फुल मार्क्स टू बोथ ऑफ यू, and it was a very nice presentation. So
thank you so much,
the next group, who is the next to present? अपना माइक ऑन कीजिए. सिद्रा. ओके सिद्रा, अपना माइक एंड कैमरा ऑन कर लीजिए. एंड
मैम कैमरा कैसे सेट करूं?
अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन का नाम बताइए.
मैम पैथोफिजियोलॉजी ऑफ रूमेटॉइड आर्थराइटिस.
Okay, so can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Then kindly start your presentation. Introduce yourself and start your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Surat Sikar, and my other group member is Tahreem Akram, and my topic of presentation is pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is the inflammation of synovial membrane of synovium. Next slide, ma'am. This is the picture that shows. Okay. This is the picture that shows the difference between a healthy joint and arthritic joint. In this picture, you can see that there is osteoclastic activity, leukocyte extravision, extensive angiogenesis, and plasma cells, dendrite cells, and hyperplasia of the synovial lining. Next slide. Rheumatoid arthritis is a complex disease with genetic and environmental components. The importance of genetic factor demonstrated by the higher concordance of rheumatoid arthritis in monozygotic 12 to 15% and with dizygotic 23%, and an increased frequency of disease in the first degree relatives of the patients. Dizygotic are the when two eggs are fertilized by two different sperms. Dizygotic twins are those. And monozygotic twins are conceived when single egg fertilized by single splits into two after fertilization. मैम next slide. मैम डायग्राम वाली स्लाइड करते हैं. 9 स्लाइड है.
आगे जाना है.
Yes ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, slide number 10.
Is this the slide? I am unable to see the number of slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So in this picture, you can see that there is a synovial membrane. The synovial membrane is inside the synovium, which is made up of the cells called fibroblasts like synoviocytes. These are the important in pathogenesis of rheumatoid arthritis. There are macrophages that secrete cytokines. There are three types of cytokines: TNF alpha, interleukin 1, and interleukin 6. These lead to the inflammation. These cytokines also stimulate fibroblasts like synoviocytes. When they are stimulated, they are activated and begin to proliferate at the same time. They begin assisting in the rank L expression, which stimulates together with the cytokines to stimulate the osteoclastic activity, which will lead to bone erosion. When fibroblasts like synoviocytes are stimulated and proliferated, they also begin secreting proteases. These are the proteins enzymes that causes the cartilage to break down. So we get the cartilage degradation, and cartilage also secrete proteases as a result of a feedback loop. When fibroblasts like synoviocytes activated, they migrate from joint to joint, like from one side of the other hand, from one side of hand to the other side of hand. And that's why we get to a symmetrical rheumatoid arthritis. In this picture, you can see that there is a cartilage breakdown, bone erosion, and osteoclastic precursors with activated C cells are activated. These are activated by TNF cytokines. We also get T cells in the synovium that make up 50% of immune cells in the area. That are important part in pathophysiology. T cells promote inflammation and they secrete interleukin 17, which will promote macrophagic activity that will stimulate again fibroblasts like synoviocytes. T cells also help in the expression of rank L, which stimulate osteoclast for bone erosion. We also find some plasma cells in this area, which will make 5% of immune cells, and they assist in stimulation through cytokines as well as through antibodies. In synovial fluid, we also find neutrophils. They produce proteases and reactive oxygen species, which will cause cartilage and bone degradation or erosion. So they can again contribute to inflammation. In synovial fluid, we also find some immune complexes, which are the major feature of rheumatoid arthritis, like antibodies. They bind to one another and they again promote inflammation. We also see angiogenesis in this area. There are also cytokines that are produced by all the cells that help in increase the vascular permeability and expression of adhesion molecules that allow for these immune cells to migrate to the joints. There are some genetic factors that are also called epigenetic complications, smoking, infection, which causes gingivitis. These things can cause modification of autoantigens. Modification of antigens is the modification of your own antigens, which make it seem foreign, seem your own antigen foreign for your immune cells. Synovial injury, hyperplasia, infection also lead to the release of cytokines that cause inflammation, which leads to the modification of autoantigens, and it also includes the circulation, and this activate antigen presenting cells to initiate immune response to antigen, and these cells migrate to the lymph nodes. Within the lymph node, we have germinal center where we have B cells. Antigen representing cells activate T cells in the area, so we can have CD4 cell activation. When CD4 cell activate, they activate B cells in germinal center, and this can be through cross stimulation. When B cells activate, they begin to proliferate. And first slide. So this is the process of whole pathogenesis of rheumatoid arthritis.
Which slide?
Ma'am, third.
This one.
In this picture, you can, ma'am, fifth. Sorry, fifth. Yes, ma'am. In this picture, you can see that the difference between the rheumatoid arthritis joint and a normal joint. Next, ma'am. Genome-wide association studies have detected nearly 100 loci that are associated with the risk of developing rheumatoid arthritis. The strongest association is with variants in the HLA region. Association with HLA is determined by variations in 3 amino acids. HLA, DRBA1 molecule, position 11, 71, and 74, and single variant HLA-B at position 9 and HLA-A DBPI at position 9. Then next. Important environmental factors like cigarette smoking associated with more severe diseases, and these also reduces the responsiveness to the treatment. Remission may occur during pregnancy, and sometimes rheumatoid arthritis first present postpartum. This is due to the suppression of the immune response during pregnancy, but hormonal changes also play a role. The known HLA loci generally lie within or close to the genes. Next slide. Genes involved in regulating the immune response. Rheumatoid arthritis occurs when an environmental stimulus such as infection, like I already told you, trigger autoimmunity in a genetically susceptible host by modifying host proteins through process like circulation, so that they become immunogenic. Characterized by infiltration of the synovial membrane with lymphocytes, plasma cells, dendritic cells, and macrophages. CD4 plus T lymphocytes and B cells play important role in the pathogenesis of rheumatoid arthritis by interacting with other cells in the synovium, which I already told you the whole process of the pathogenesis. Lymphoid follicles form within the synovial membrane in which T and B cells interactions occur, causing activation of the T cells to produce cytokines, TNF, IL-1, and 14, and activation of B cells to produce antibodies, including rheumatoid factor and ACP. Now Tehreem will continue.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tehreem Akram, and I am going to representing the pathophysiology of the rheumatoid arthritis. Synovial macrophages are activated by the TNF and interferon gamma produced by the T cells. TNF are the tumor necrosis factor. TNF is a cell signaling protein involved in the systemic inflammation, and interferon gamma dimerized soluble cytokine, only member of the type 2 class of the interferon. The macrophages produce several pro-inflammatory cytokines, including TNF, IL-1, and IL-6, which act on the synovial fibroblasts to produce further cytokines, setting up a positive feedback loop. Ma'am, next. Here you can see three types of joint. First is the normal joint, and second one is the early stage of the rheumatoid arthritis, in which the T cells and beta cells are activated, and dendritic cells are activated also, and angiogenesis and neutrophils form. And in the third stage, it is the advanced stage and established stage. In this, the neutrophils and penis accumulation cause, and the bony erosion cause. Next. The synovial fibroblasts proliferate, causing synovial hypertrophy, producing matrix metalloproteinase and the proteinase ADAMTS5, which degrades soft tissues and cartilage. Prostaglandins and nitric oxide produced within the inflamed synovium causes vasodilation and resulting in swelling and pain. Next. Systemic release of IL-6 triggers production of the acute phase protein by the liver at the joint margin. Inflamed synovium directly invades bone and cartilage to cause joint erosion. A key pathogen factor in bone erosion and periarticular osteoporosis is osteoclast activation stimulated by the production of MCSF by synovial cell and rankle by the activated T cells. Rankle is the receptor activator of the nuclear factor kappa B ligand, is also known as the tumor necrosis factor ligand. Ma'am, please, next. Here you can see the pathophysiology of rheumatoid arthritis, in which unknown antigen bodies made and changing the antigen form, and it due to which the body acts like it is a foreign material. Therefore, it activates beta cells and macrophages, due to which IL and TNF cells activate, and it causes osteoclast activity and bone and cartilage erosion also start here, and synovitis is also present. Ma'am, next. New blood vessels formation occur, causing the inflamed synovium to become highly vascular. Within these blood vessels, pro-inflammatory cytokines activate endothelial cells, which support the recruitment of yet more leukocytes to perpetuate the inflammatory process. Next. Later, fibrous or bony ankylosis may occur. Ankylosis is abnormal stiffening and immobility of the joint due to the fusion of bones. Muscles adjacent to inflamed joints atrophy and may be infiltrated with the lymphocytes. This leads to progressive biomechanical dysfunction and may further destruction. Next. Rheumatoid nodules occur in patients who are RF and ACPA positive and primarily effective sensor of the tendons. ACPA is anti-styrolutein protein antibody. They consist of the central area of fibronized material surrounded by the placed of the proliferating mononuclear cells. Granulomatous lesion may occur in the perula, lung, and pericardium and sclera. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, both of you. And it was a very difficult topic, and you both of you presented it very well. I just posted that it had many इसमें details थी, काफी ज़्यादा काफी complicated process है इसकी pathophysiology का, लेकिन बहुत अच्छी कोशिश की आप दोनों ने. जी, थर्ड जो ग्रुप है उसके कौन स्टार्ट करेगा?
मैम हमारा ग्रुप है क्लिनिकल फीचर्स ऑफ रूमेटॉइड आर्थराइटिस. अलीना
जी बेटा, तो अपना माइक और अपनी जो है कैमरा ऑन कर लीजिए. ठीक है, मैं स्लाइड्स आपकी ऑन कर रही हूँ और आप लोग स्टार्ट कर लीजिए.
ओके मैम, करूँ स्टार्ट?
जी जी बेटा.
ओके. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. माय नेम इज अलीना अली अकबर and my group members are Atif Shehzad and Aisha Wahab. Today's our topic of presentation is clinical features of rheumatoid arthritis. Next, please. Next. Okay. The typical presentation of rheumatoid arthritis is pain, joint swelling, stiffness, affects small joints in a symmetrical fashion, hands, feet, wrist. Large joint involvement, systemic symptoms and extra-articular features may also occur. Next, please. This is the criteria for diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. According to this criteria, patient with score equal to 6 or more than 6 are considered to have a definite rheumatoid arthritis. Next, please. Clinical features continue. Occasionally, typical presentation of rheumatoid arthritis has following properties. Palindromic is onset. In palindromic, episodes of pain, stiffness, usually of single joint lasting for few hours to days, and then return to normal, relapsing. In relapsing, return of signs and symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis have a period of improvement. In remitting, after several years of active disease, there is a period when the disease is inactive. Next, please. In this picture, rheumatoid arthritis is bone erosion or synovitis. But in palindromic, there is a edema or swelling in periarticular inflammation spaces. Next, please. A clearly typical presentation of rheumatoid arthritis has following properties. Signs, symptoms, pattern of joint involvement, deformities, extra-articular symptoms. In signs, examination typically relieves swelling, tenderness of the affected joints. Erythema is unusual due to coexistence of sepsis. Limitation of movement of joints, subcutaneous nodules. Next, please. In symptoms, acute onset, severe early morning stiffness, polyarthritis, more than 4 joints. Pitting edema. Pitting edema is shown in this picture. Proximal muscle stiffness, mimicking polymyalgia rheumatica. Next, please. Pattern of joint involvement. Firstly, proximal phalangeal joints and metacarpophalangeal joints, then wrist, knee, ankle, and toes, then distal interphalangeal joint spreads. Next, please. In deformity, more common in older patients, well due to long-lasting uncontrolled disease, less common with aggressive treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, treatment in early stages. Deformities are often seen at hands and wrist, knees, and ankle and foot. Next, please. In hand and wrist, ulnar deviation of the finger, swan neck deformities, buttonine or buttonhole deformity, jet deformity of the thumb, dorsal subluxation of the ulna at the distal radio-ulnar joint, cause rupture of fourth and fifth extensor tendons. Triggering of fingers may occur because of nodules in the flexor tendon sheets. Next, please. These deformities are shown in these pictures, all deformities. Next, please. This is trigger finger. Okay, next, please. In knee, synovial effusion and quadriceps bursting early features. Valgus or varus deformities are late features. Popliteal Becker cyst occurs in patients with knee synovitis, not specific to rheumatoid arthritis. Rupture of cyst induced by knee flexion cause calf pain and swelling, mimicking deep venous thrombosis. Next, please. These are shown in this picture. Next, please. Ankle and foot. Cock-up toe deformities, subluxation of metacarpal joints of feet. Pain on weight bearing on the exposed metacarpopharyngeal heads. Development of secondary adventitis, bursa calcified. Valgus deformities or calcaneus in hand foot due to damage to the ankle and subtalar joints. Associated with loss of longitudinal arc flat foot due to rupture of cubitus posterior tendon. Next, please. Cock-up toe deformities in these pictures. Now, Atif Azad will continue.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Atif Shahzad. Now we will discuss about the extra-articular features of rheumatoid arthritis. The extra-articular features are most common in patients with long-standing seropositive erosive disease. The patient with the seropositive erosive disease, rheumatoid arthritis, has antibodies in their blood that helps to identify the disease. These antibodies are called rheumatoid factors, which is a protein made by immune system that can attack healthy tissue in the body. Healthy people don't have RF. So the presence of RF in your body can indicate that you have an autoimmune disease. These are occasionally occur at presentation, especially in men. There are multiple extra-article features. Next, please. Next. Systemic features include anorexia, which is an eating disorder, weight loss, fatigue, osteoporosis, which is due to increased osteoclast activity and inhibit osteoblast activity. Muscle wasting due to systemic inflammation and reduced activity. Next, please. Nodules. Exclusively in RF or ACPA positive patients. The ACPA, which is an anti-citrullinated protein antibodies, are associated with joint disruption because of this ACPA positive rheumatoid arthritis is considered to be more severe than ACPA negative rheumatoid arthritis. It is usually in extensor tendons, frequently asymptomatic, can be complicated by ulceration and secondary infection. The secondary infection is an infection that occurs during or after treatment for another infection. It may be caused by the first treatment or by change in the immune system. Next, please. In this diagram, you can see rheumatoid nodules and oligoclonine bursitis. Oligoclonine bursitis is a condition characterized by swelling, redness, and pain at the tip of the elbow. Vasculitis, which occur in seropositive patients. The presentation is with systemic symptoms include fatigue, fever, nail fold infarcts. Nail fold infarcts, which is a small brown spots around the nails. Rarely can occur cutaneous ulceration, which is a skin ulcer with an open sore caused by poor blood supply. Skin necrosis, mesenteric vasculitis, which is an inflammation of the mesenteric arteries responsible for taking blood from the aorta and distribute it to a large portion of the gastrointestinal tract. Renal or coronary artery occlusion. Next, please. In this diagram, you can see a normal mesenteric arterial circulation and a mesenteric ischemia. It happens when the body's immune system attacks the blood vessel by mistake. In patients with long-standing RA, there is an invasion of the blood vessel walls by inflammatory cells. Next, please. Now, ocular involvement, which is a dry eye keratoconjunctivitis sacca due to secondary Sjogren's syndrome. Sjogren's syndrome is a disorder of immune system identified by its most common symptoms. That is a dry eyes and a dry mouth. Scleritis and peripheral ulcerative keratitis. Scleritis is a serious inflammatory disease that affects the white outer coating of the eye, known as a sclera. Serious and potentially high-threatening complication present with pain and redness. Next, please. In this diagram, you can see peripheral ulcerative keratitis, which is also known as peripheral corneal ulceration, is a disorder consisting of a crystal-shaped destructive inflammation at the margin of the corneal stroma. Next, please. Serositis. Serositis, which is an inflammation of the serous membrane or serosal membrane. It is the thin membrane that lines the internal body cavity and organs such as the heart, lungs, and abdominal cavity. It is usually asymptomatic, can be presented with pleural or pericardial pain, breathlessness, pericardial effusion, constructive pericarditis, which is a long-term or chronic inflammation of the pericardium. Next, please. In this diagram, you can see the buildup of excessive fluid between the layers of the pleura outside the lungs. And in the other diagram, an excessive fluid between the heart and the sac surrounding the heart, which is shown as the pericardium. Thank you. Now, Aisha will continue.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Wahab. Now I will continue with the presentation. The next extra-articular involvement is cardiac complication. But it is rare. The chances of having cardiac complication can be increased with smoking, high cholesterol, hypertension, decreased physical activity, and use of NSAIDs, as all these conditions can affect the immunity and cause the cardiac involvements. Next, please. The next one is the pulmonary complications. In rheumatoid arthritis patients, those having anti-TNF therapy, there is a chance of having pulmonary fibrosis, but there is less evidence that whether it is a cause or the marker of the severe disease. Next, please. There is the presentation of the pulmonary fibrosis. Next, please. Peripheral neuropathy is also seen in patients of rheumatoid arthritis. Next, please. As it is already discussed that there is the hand swelling in rheumatoid arthritis patients. So the hand swelling can compress the median nerve and leads to the carpal tunnel syndrome. Due to the rheumatoid arthritis nodules, ulnar nerve can be compressed in the cubital tunnel and lead to the cubital tunnel syndrome. Next, please. Along with these nerves, peroneal nerves, tibial nerves can also be compressed due to the ankle and knee deformities and leads to these peripheral neuropathies. Next, please. Spinal cord compression due to plantar-axial subluxation can often occur with the rheumatoid arthritis. The reason of this subluxation is the erosion of the transverse ligament. If a patient having rheumatoid arthritis complains of onset of new headache, arm paresthesia, and electric shock-like symptoms in arm, there will be a suspected spinal cord compression, and these patients are required for the urgent neurological referral for the fixation. Next, please. In these pictures, you can see the subluxation of the interlateral joints. In the flexion, there is the widening of the space, and in the extension, there is the narrowing of the space. You can see in these diagrams. Next, please. Next. There are some other complications associated with the rheumatoid arthritis. These are amyloidosis. Amyloidosis is the abnormal buildup of amyloid proteins in the tissues and organs of the bodies. Different types of anemia can also occur in rheumatoid arthritis, as the use of NSAIDs in RA patients can cause the side effect of NSAIDs, that is GIT bleeding, and that cause the loss of the blood and leads to anemias. Feltis syndrome is also a condition associated with rheumatoid arthritis that has splenomegaly, neutropenia, that is decreased WBC count, and thrombocytopenia along with rheumatoid arthritis. Lymphadenopathy is also seen in rheumatoid arthritis. The persistent lymphadenopathy may indicate the lymphomas. These all conditions are associated with the long-standing rheumatoid arthritis. Next, please. This is the clinical presentation of the amyloidosis. Next. As there are the multiple extraarticular symptoms, to remember them, you can use these mnemonics, and it will be easily to understand these extraarticular symptoms. Next, please. Thank you.
Okay, Ji. Thank you so much, all of you. That was really a comprehensive presentation and covering all of the possible extra-articular and articular like presentation of the rheumatoid arthritis. As at this point, I would like to conclude the session, and thank you so much for joining today.